When you want so much, it's like an inner tyrant in your head that's just saying, go, go, go. And even when you try to relax, you're almost beating yourself up for it. So you're never actually fully relaxed because you're just going, oh, I'm being shitty right now. I could be out prospecting. I could be making content. I could be reaching out to clients. But it's like, maybe you needed that 1 hour of just to relax, right? Oh, let me relax. Let me go out and walk in nature. Let me go for a walk. Taking care of yourself is like the huge aspect too, man. Even just getting to the gym and like being like conscious of what you're putting in your body. But then sometimes too, being like, hey, maybe I'm just going to enjoy the next maybe like week or two because I'm feeling like it's adding up. I'm feeling burned out.
But like at the end of the day, and one who's tuning and watching and listening, it's like, just show up, be your true authentic self, have more fun. Don't be so stuffy and think that everything needs to be a certain specific way in order for you to have the success that you wish to have. And go follow this man, Brandon Vincent. Everything to be down below so they could follow, they could check you out, they could watch your YouTube channel. I think you should tune into his podcast so you can see the way that he vibes out and does what he does. And obviously 120 plus deals later, and you're in Canada, and I'm sure the weather out of 4 months of the year with snow, there's a lot of movement going on. So you're obviously crushing it, doing an amazing job. I really appreciate your time today. This has been awesome. And it's been a pleasure to vibe out and meet someone that I've never met before in a different country. And be able to add value to people out there, man.
No, absolutely, Norman. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate your time today. Love everything you're doing here, and I'm looking forward to seeing, if this could provide value to anybody, and just seeing the clips. And man, this is why I like doing this stuff. It's fun.
Now I'm crushing it on podcast, have my own podcast on YouTube, adding massive value. And that's why I want to talk to you, because I think that at the end of the day, there's a lot of individuals that, either life happens to you or for you. And a lot of people are like, oh, this happened to me and that happened to me. They're fucking victims. Or this happened for me for a reason. And you look for the underlying silver lining of it. And then you're okay, cool. And I think some people, like my wife's ex-husband, and she says I'm the best husband yet. No, hopefully the last. And so
I get some fuck on that.
He had everything. He was tall and handsome and, long hair and had money and his family and all the things. The next, it's like drugs and alcohol went completely down a different path. And I think that, I don't know if that's the contrast you need to grow in this life or whatever. But at the end of the day, I knew for me personally, coming from the shit of the shit, I was like, I saw the contrast and I saw the writing on the wall. And I'm like, whoa, like, okay, I see the ghetto. I see how this is like not so nice and this, and this. And I saw like the nicer areas and luxury homes. And I was like, I see this, and this. And I'm like, I want that. I want the nicer home. I want this. I want that. And then now having a daughter, it's like now trying to give her the contrast and not give her everything. So she understands that it takes hard work and dedication and what happens. So we're always telling her, this is mommy didn't have this. This is right. This. You got to work hard for this. Like, money just doesn't come. And then like, go to the store. I want this. I want this. I want that. I'm like, well, okay, what are you going to trade me? What are you going to do?
Right.
Okay, you want this, but what are you giving me? You're going to clean your room or chores or something. So it's interesting when you are a cycle breaker, which I believe you and I are. And then when you do have a family, like how to put it in perspective. So that way they don't, see everything. And then, I have a couple supercars and whatever. And so then she sees that. And then she's just like, oh, I want to go drive in the super. I'm like, not everyone has a TRX, a GTR. Like that's not normal. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's interesting.
No, I love that, man. And I mean, I don't have kids yet, but I have the perspective of having a younger brother and sister. And my sister, so they're about like 10, 12 years younger than me kind of deal. And so growing up, as I started, doing, just better in real estate, having a little bit more money, they'd be like, Brandon, like, I want a pair of shoes. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to buy you stuff because you want it. They're like, what do you mean? And I'd just give them like a ridiculous task. I'd be like, here's a Rubik's Cube. And I messed it all up. I was like, figure that out. If you figure that out, I'll buy you some shoes.
Did they do it?
Yeah, within like a week, they did like some app. They found an app. And I was like, you know what though? That's solving the problem.
Yeah.
I was like, you still solved the problem. I gave you a problem. I didn't give you restrictions on how to solve it. That's me. So then they still figured it out. And then I went out and bought her a pair of shoes.
Oh my God. Right? I love
just little stuff like that where I was just trying to like, it's like, cause you're not just going to nobody just gives you things in life. Like solve a problem, do something for it, earn it somehow. Right. And like, I brought my little brother along with me for days. Like there's times where I've just picked him up. Like I'll stop at my parents' house and I'll go, I'm taking Barrett with me today. And they're like, shouldn't he go to school? I'm like, he'll learn more with me.
Keep it real, dude.
And then we go for a drive, and then he's seeing me kind of do business, going up, talking to clients, and like, who's this with you? I'm like, I'm just bringing my brother along with me today. And it's just like a little ride along, right? Because it's like, that's where you're going to really learn. It's like, that's going to,
Yes.
I feel like he's going to remember that. And I feel like I feel like that'll be a value of someday. It's like, that's
dude.
kind of like some stuff that maybe some people did for me, or I wish they did for me, but like, yeah.
Congratulations on that, man. That's huge. I love the fact that you give back like that. I actually have a younger brother too. He's 13, and so he comes.
Yeah, mine's 15. He's 15, turning 16. Turning 16 this weekend.
Oh, I love it, man. Happy birthday to little bro. And he comes out and he sees the contrast, which is good. And he was like, talk to my mom. He's like, this house is a fixer. This is a fixer-upper. This needs to be changed. That needs to be changed. All this type of stuff. My mom's like, what? And like, I love my mom, but sometimes I think she's just like, sometimes parents are kind of like, in a way, and that's their way, and like a little stuck sometimes. And so I love your mom if you're watching this, but it's like whatever makes you happy.
And that's a good thing to say too. Like, and I love my parents a lot too. And it's actually funny because as I became a younger adult, I had a lot of anger as a child almost towards them, because I was just like, why didn't you guys have things figured out? Like, what the hell was the problem? I was almost like, why was I raised the way I was? I was angry.
Set me up like this. What's going on here?
Right. I was just kind of upset. And then I grew up, and I was like, okay, wait, they had me like my mom was 16 when I was born. My dad was just a few years older than her.
Okay.
And then like, I kind of looked at it and I'm like, okay, me in my 20s, I was a mess. So I'm like, I wouldn't have been that much better of a parent. And here I am judging them harshly, even though I probably wouldn't have been able to do better myself.
Yes.
And that's when I had enough kind of like gratitude to go up to them. And I actually just kind of like thanked them for everything that they did give me. And just said like, I know I've been upset before for the life you guys have gave me, but like I'm actually thankful, and I realized I probably couldn't have done much better. And for that reason, like, I'm just thankful that you guys were at least there for me and kind of everything like that. And it's like, it takes a lot to, I think, get to that point though, man. You gotta unravel some twine in the mind. Like that's a fishing line that's just clocked right up. That's a messy rope.
Yeah, that's awesome. At least I think the biggest part about growth, and for anyone who's listening out there, is that self-reflection. And if you could self-reflect on the things that you're doing, or maybe your things that you're not doing, like right now I'm self-reflecting on some personal health. I've had some personal health stuff come up actually in my teens. Had some stomach issue, lost a lot of weight, and then I got into my early 20s and I found out it was colitis, which is large intestine inflammation, autoimmune, medication for the rest of my life. And then now it's been about 10, 15 years or so, and I'm getting a little bit of a flare up. So I'm like, man, why is my stomach? What's going on? This and that. And so then I'm like, oh shit. Self-reflecting, the body's like, you need to stop. Like, cause I'm like A-type, gym, macros, tracking, like on it. Right. And so I'm like, you know what? I don't need to give myself that last hour, 6 to 7. I got to have 3 hours before I go to sleep with nothing in my system. So I'm going to force 1,000 calories down my throat. And then if I don't do it, I'm stressed out. And then I got to be up at 4:30 because I got to get to the gym. And I think so much of the regiments and like the gurus that say you have to do it this one way, sometimes it's like, dude, life by design. Like, why don't you, if you're going to work so hard and have the success that you have, why not give yourself grace a little bit so you can have the balance in your life, right? And be able to say, fuck, dude, like, I do have the income that I have and the life that I have. So, you know what? I'm going to go take a hiatus today and like go fucking on a road trip with a GTR. I'm going to go, whatever, take a flight to California, sit on the beach. I mean,
whatever fuels you, right? It's like learning to fuel the soul again, man. I love that you're talking about this. And you actually said something that I've recently learned, and that's giving yourself grace. That's a hard one. It's like, because when you want so much, you have, it's like an inner tyrant in your head that's just saying, go, go, go. Gotta like, it's like, and even when you try to relax, you're almost beating yourself up for it. So you're never actually fully relaxed because you're just going, oh, I'm being shitty right now. I could be out prospecting. I could be making content. I could be reaching out to clients, but it's like, maybe you needed that 1 hour of just, just to relax, right? Oh, let me relax. Let me go out walk in nature. Let me go for a walk. Taking care of yourself is like the huge aspect too, man. Even just getting to the gym and like being like conscious of what you're putting in your body, but then sometimes too being like, hey, maybe I'm just going to enjoy the next maybe like week or two because I'm feeling like it's adding up. I'm feeling burned out. I'm feeling the weight of it all, and it's balance, man. It's so hard, I think, to even. A lot of people don't talk about it because a lot of people just like go, grind, faster, harder, David Goggins. And I love that stuff. I love that stuff. That's why I'm in the wolf pack, like guys like Mike Sherrard, he's an animal. He works so hard. I mean, even, like people need balance. We are not just kind of like, it's like we need to recharge. We're not this 100%. And that's something that drives me nuts is once you start to feel 100%, whatever that is for you, you want to be there all the time. Especially when you're interacting with clients so much because that's so valuable. When I'm at 100, I'm in the pocket. And it's just like, it's almost like a drug. It's like a drug. You're in the zone. It's just like, you kind of feel like a ninja with words and everything is fast. But then there's some days, depending on what was going on. Maybe you were stressed, like you were stressed out the night before. Maybe you had a bad sleep, something with the wife, with the girlfriend. Maybe there's something going on with the family. The dog's ill, sick, and the vet dying. You never know, right? And then you're hard on yourself for not being 100%. And you're like, maybe that's why this didn't work out. And it's just, and you have these conversations that just don't end in your head. And it's just like, that's where the grace, where you just go, let's try to silence it all. I'm reading a really cool book right now. It's called Power and Force. Versus Force. Have you read that?
No, Power versus Force. No.
Yeah. Okay. So the whole premise of the book, it's got this really cool chart. I'm actually recording this podcast over my phone. I'd show you its on the picture there. But if anybody wants to Google the chart, Power versus Force, what it is a chart of energy levels. Pretty well, the book was done on a study where the author of the book, he's a scientist of some sort, and he would go around the world and he would see how different, let's say, different ideas, different words, different thoughts, different products would affect somebody's energy and their strength. So like, for example, he did this test in a crowd. So like, here's how the test was done is somebody would hold their arm out. Exactly. That's the book. Somebody would hold their arm out. And then he would get somebody to put resistance against their arm. And then he would measure what that is. And then he would say a certain word. So let's say, for example, he'd say maybe like parents are a little hard one because mom and dad could be great for somebody. That could make somebody strong depending on your relationship with your parents, but it could make somebody weak if maybe you had a tyrannical parent that you don't have a great relationship with, and then you think of them and it kind of it like makes you go into a shell. So then on a stage, what he did is he had two apples, and he had one apple that was made with organic. That was like grown organically, and one that was grown had pesticides, chemicals, and everything on it. You could not tell the difference between the two apples, and he got the crowd to raise their arm and then tested the resistance level of everybody. I don't know who was there for the testing, but so then he had that apple up for the organic, and everybody got a little. The majority of the group got stronger, and then when he held up the chemical one, the majority of the group got weaker, and he'd do it back and forth, and even like change it a couple times, so nobody knew what was going on, but everybody got stronger during the organic. And it's like there's energies to certain things. Even structures can have energies. A home, let's say, could have an energy. Let's say, for example, you go to Thailand and you're looking at a temple. You're enamored by it. You're like, what a beautiful piece of art. What love and dedication went into making this structure versus looking at a corporate bank. You're just like, it's like this big rectangle, like some lights are on. Like, it's 11 p.m. Half the lights are still on. Dudes are still there. Just like, that looks, what a meat grinder in there. And, nothing against guys that work in the bank or anything like that, but like, there's just different energies to different structures. And then anyway, so then he ranks them at the very bottom. At the very bottom is shame. At the very bottom, it's shame. And like, that's where, let's say, like, for example, like, a dog, when you get a dog that came from a very bad house that was like, that dog won't eat. It won't let anybody touch it It won't even accept love from anybody. That's a dog that's like at the lowest vibration level of shame. And then it works up from there. So then it's like shame. And then it goes into, I don't know the exact chart, but then eventually it goes into like fear. And then it said something that was crazy. It's like once you actually cry, like if you're so shameful, once you cry, you're now moving through the emotions because now you're processing. Tears can be great in a victim that's like coming out of something very traumatic. The tears are great because you're like, now you're processing emotions and they're working up through it. And then it goes into fear. And then the book said, most people operate off this level. When we went around and tested the majority of the world, which they went to all over all different countries, all different corners of the world. They went to all kinds of different rich, poor, They went to all kinds of people. And they said the majority of people that we noticed operate at a fear level. And it's like, it's kind of true, right? That's that kind of like, you're kind of in this point of like want and need. And then as you go up from fear, you go into anger. Or it's like anger.
Fear, anger,
desire. So then and then it goes to desire. And like I can think back in my life where I'm going, damn, like I actually grew up and there was levels where I was just at fear because I'm going, I don't need, it's not worth living. Like, is this really what I want to do? Right. All the suffering. And then I get into desire where I'm going, actually, I want to do a little bit better. And then you get into anger because you're going, I don't actually have what I want.
Just getting by.
Other people have it. Now you get anger, but you're working now up the chain of the proper emotions. And there was a long time, I just said it earlier, that I was angry. And then above anger comes pride.
Yes.
Pride is where most of the military operates. That's where the military wants to get people to operate. You're proud. You're standing for your country. You have the group around you. But then even that is a negative energy level because the pride is like, that's where you can easily switch back to anger. People that are very proud easily switch to anger. Because if you now make them upset, that's the next level down. You've now said something about me that I don't like, and now I'm angry.
Yeah.
But then after pride, now you get into courage. Now you're on the tipping point. You're on the tipping point. Courage is where I got into business. That's when I left the military. I was in the military too, so that's why I kind of like have this kind of this recollection of it all.
Yeah.
So then
it resonates more.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so the courage is where you leave what you know is comfortable to then get into business. And then you start getting into things like neutrality, where now things aren't affecting you as much. Things are, you're just kind of like, I'm not going to react instantly to all this. I don't need to react. A lot of times people feel need to react. And once I realized I didn't need to react to stuff, it's a very weird thing to do at first. Somebody tells you something that they want to trigger you, and you just go, okay. And they're kind of looking at you, just going like, did you hear me? It's like, yeah, I heard you. Yeah. And they're just like, what is wrong with it? It's like, I'm just processing it, man. I get nothing for that. I get nothing. Yeah. Anyway, good.
Appreciate you. Yeah.
Right. And it's just like, that throws people right off, And then once you start working through, but it's like, this is like self-healing. It's like what you have to do for self-healing. And like most of society doesn't even know how to react to that. And then anyway, so the top level is enlightenment. And then like, the top level is just like this. It said only a few people have ever reached this level, and nobody operates at any level consistently, right? Like there's days you wake up, you're kind of like, my energy's off today. And you're kind of like, and then I'm thinking, I'm going, what stage am I in here? What do I got to do to work through?
Yes,
exactly. That's what right. And it's like, most people don't even talk about this stuff, but it is 100% a real thing. It's 100% a real thing, whether you know about it or not. It's like once you start to understand it, you can almost see it in people, and you can see it in buildings. It's like a lot of feelings inside, and that's the energy, that's the vibrations and stuff. Anyway, I've been talking.
Yeah, no, I love that.
Right there.
And where attention goes, energy flows. And I think that people don't really understand that. Like, if say a building is just a building, and people could be listening, like, oh, what are you talking about? It's just a building, and it's not anything, but everything is matter, and everything is molecules, and everything is moving. And even if it's at such a micro level where you can't see it with the naked eye, everything is energy. And like, you'll go into, for frame of reference for real estate versus technology here, you'll go into a house and you'll feel the energy. You'll be like, oh man, this house, something's off. Like we need to do the feng shui needs to be different. The paint needs to be different. We got to get a shaman in here.
Smudge it. Be gone, demons.
Yeah, exactly. So going back to what you said, and I think that's something that someone could take for example, is slowing down and understanding that you don't always have to be at the flow state, you're ninja level, just crushing it at the 100%. You could slow down. And like my wife and I were talking about this last weekend. And it's like, if you are going to manifest something and put that into your mind or have a vision board or mind movie, whatever, you can just like you hold on to it and you feel it and you think about what it would feel like to have it. It doesn't matter how you need to get there. And then you let it go and then you slow down and you just be in gratitude for what you achieved and what you've done and where you're at. And you just go out and that's why I love, for car relatability for people out there like cars, is like, there's something about what, like you said, buildings earlier. There's something about the energy that the engineers put into a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or a super vehicle or even a hyper vehicle. And then when you get into it, there's a feeling it makes you feel. And then there's an energetic relatability where people, I can feel this, people outside of the vehicle then look at it and they're like, oh shit, they'll take a picture or a video or whatever else. Like I were driving my car down the street and a guy was doing a video over his girlfriend and crashes his car, hit the curb and pops his tire. Right. And there's an energetic, and then once you have that type of vehicle, there's a responsibility of sharing the vehicle and going to shows and letting other people feel that energy that it emotes, even though it's just an object.
I love that of the sharing, and I see a lot of people do that with their supercars. There's a few influencers that I really like, guys like Sean Whalen is one of them. He's got a Lamborghini. Like he's often like put like videos of having kids in. Mike Sherrard did this too. He's got a video of like bringing a kid in that always wanted to be in a Lamborghini. It's like and it changes these people's lives, right? Changes their lives because what maybe they thought once was only something they'd ever see on a screen or drive by. Now they're in it. Now they're experiencing it, and then they get to tell their friends about that and how it felt, the energy that they felt being inside of that, and just all of that stuff, man, is important. And it's like, I was just on my Instagram. If you look at my Instagram, the top 3 pictures, I have it pinned right now with one picture with me and Gary V, one picture with me and Brad Lee, and one picture with me and Ed Milet. And the reason I have that on there is I know they're huge influencers. So when people click on my profile, they're like, oh, like he has an association with them. Well, I met them. And the cool part is these are people that I looked up to before I ever met them. And then I got the opportunity to go out and meet them. And I think that it's these, like, certain people even carry that energy with them, right? Yes. They vibrate at that higher frequency, and you might feel it through the phone, but then when you get in front of them and you actually feel that for real, and you're like, oh, this is real. This isn't just a show. This is who he really is, because I can feel it. I can feel it. I'm with them. And then, like, you almost leave as a lit candle. It's like you're now like brighter because you just were around that. And I think that it's not by accident that I ran into these people. Like I had it's so cool how it happens, because like these were just people that I was seeing on the phone, and then you run into them and you're like, no, these are real people. I can actually interact with them. If I ever have an opportunity that I want to bring to them, I can reach out. I can talk to them. Not that they're always going to answer, but it's like there's just the realness, realizing the realness, and that it's not just this kind of like a lot of things on a screen can get misconstrued, and you're just scrolling through like, oh, whatever. Like, and I was trying to make sure that I'm consuming things I like, and I'm sure you're the exact same, and most people who watch this would be the exact same. But it's like, not only are we paying attention to what we're putting into our body, but paying attention to what we're putting into our mind. Who are we watching? Who do we want to emulate? And that, and for me, that changes over time. There was guys where I was like, I want to be that when I'm older. And that was like my early 20s. And then as I get into my 30s, I'm going, oh, actually, I like this model of what they're doing over here a little bit better. Yes. I like the groundedness. I like the guy that's, out and actually enjoying some time with his family, but then also doing the huge business and finding that balance and taking care of himself. And it's like, find different models and different people and stuff too, man. It's powerful, dude. And it's so crazy that even like some of these people that I followed on my phone that I've even had the opportunity to walk up and talk to. Yeah. Because it's like they know so many people. Like, what are the chances that a guy from New Brunswick, like I'm like isolated. I'm not in California. I'm not in Arizona. I'm not in anywhere that any huge influencer really is, except Dan Martell is from New Brunswick. Shout out to Dan Martell. Love the fact that he's from here. And his brother's a huge builder around here, building lottery homes. They've done amazing. Martel Homes does amazing work around here.
Shout out, love it.
And anyway, so just finding people that inspire you, right? I think that's huge when it comes to this journey as well. And I didn't realize at the time, but a lot of that was energy transferring from the phone to me that helped me kind of like get through ruts and have a higher energy too. It's like I always felt like, like one thing I loved about Gary Vee is just his energy. And like I kind of felt obnoxious about my energy and almost like some shame about it. Like I'm like, maybe I'm too much, or like I rub people the wrong way. But then once I start doing it shamelessly and I'm just like, this is who I am. And people kind of look at me like, oh damn, he's high energy. And it's like, yeah, sometimes. And something that threw me off was once you're known as high energy, sometimes you're not high energy though. Sometimes I'm tired. Sometimes I'm tired. And then I almost am scared to show up because I'm like, they're going to think like I'm not good, or they're going to think there's something wrong with me. Yeah. But then I started to learn that it's actually better just to show up. It's better just to show up because we're human.
Yes.
And this is something else that I'm learning almost this year, where it's like, the start of this year, I was maybe in a little bit of like a mental rut and I didn't have all kinds of motivation. And I'm like, but I'm still going to show up. I sponsor 18 agents right now in EXP.
Congrats.
And I have a little weekly call that we do. And there's sometimes where I'm like, damn, I don't even feel good enough to be in front of people, but I just kept showing up and talking to them and just being available for them so that we could have conversations. And a lot of times we feed off each other. That's what I love about our group is we all feed off each other. And it's just like, I think showing up, man, is just the key. Just keep showing up, even when you're not 100%. Just try to do everything you can to get there, but then just show up. And as long as you're putting in the work and doing your best, it's like I think that's all we can ask of ourselves.
I love when you think about the perspective of energy. And you said in that segment there, you're like, well, I don't always have the energy, so it just is what it is. And there's something to be said about the fact that like when you're doing something that you absolutely love, like there's something about video content. When I'm getting in front of a camera and I'm going to film content, I just light up. Or when I'm around other people and I could speak into them, or I could listen to their story, or like this right now, like it's amazing. I don't know if anyone out there can relate to the fact that you'll go and you'll meet with someone, and when you'll meet with that one person, next thing you know, you'll just be like extra energized. And sometimes you'll meet with people and you'll just be kind of like drained, like what the fuck. And so there's that. And then this week I was dealing with a little bit of like kind of like not feeling the 100% or whatever else. And we do our team meeting at Liftoff Agent that sponsors our show here, Real Estate First Technology. And I do a Monday motivation every single Monday. And I really just wasn't feeling it last week because I was also sick. I was just best man for my father-in-law. He just got married. The last Friday was my birthday. So we're up north, and thanks so much, man. Appreciate
a lot going on. So you're putting a lot of energy out there. That's a lot of energy.
Dude. Yeah. So I just kept it simple, dude. I was just like, hey, I don't got a lot of energy. This is what's going on. I want to introduce a couple new people to the team, yada, yada, yada. Kept it simple, and then bounced back again the next week, and then talked about stress management. Oh, I've been dealing with some stress. Here's some health issues. This is what happened last week. But then it gave them contrast, like, hey, because you look at some of the gurus, and the first thing that comes to mind for a lot of these people is they're not fucking human. There's no way they're human. But then going through that moment was like, no, I'm human. I'm fucking just like you. Like, I just got energy.
Same. We're all made out of the same material. We're all breathing the same air, right?
Yeah.
And like once you realize that, and like that's why I was saying it's so important to meet like these guys that you're looking at, like Gary Vee and like a lot of these big, like huge gurus. And yeah, they have that energy, but it's like they are human too. And then you realize that, and it's like they're vibrating at a different frequency, a lot more. They've found a way to get there. And I think that's kind of the key, right? And then for me, it's like if I'm not 100%, I do find a way to try to get back there. Sometimes I'm not feeling 100%, and I'm going to wallow in this for a bit and figure it out. Yeah. Why am I here? What do I have to learn? What do I have to do? What do I got to change? What's going on?
That's exactly what happened to me last night, because I went to, so I'll show you really quick. Let's zoom out. And so traditionally you'll be in the studio in the chair over there. So I have my in-person podcast studio. And so right now we're doing the online version. And so I launched, and there's a lot of the DNA coming into this show now, because after 500 plus episodes, Real Estate First Technology, very much like a little stuffy. It's business, it's technology talk, whatever else. It's like, hey, what are you doing? It's like for you, your YouTube channel, whatever. And so I was like, let's do this liftoff experience. When have you had liftoff personally, professionally, and spiritually? And I'm going down this spiritual journey. And so now we're seeing a lot of the DNA. We're talking about a lot of the stuff here in this podcast. And Kimberly, she was actually in the hot seat, Real Estate First Technology 2 episodes ago. And we went into a lot of that kind of conversation because she's crushing like you on YouTube. And long story short, last night I went to an event, and I always look at myself and I compare myself to like the Alex Hormozis, the Gary V's. I'm like, my mission is to take the spiritual side and the business side and bring them together. How do we have more touchy feely feminine energy within the business aspect of things, less KPIs, SOP, let's fucking go, right? So that's kind of my ideologies of what I want to do. So I went to this event. I'm a nobody, which is totally fine. I'm listening, I'm learning, and I don't need to toot my own horn. I'm probably, if not the most successful in the room. And I don't want to say that out of ego. I just want to say that out of the fact that like, it's okay to speak less, because the person who speaks the most in the room is typically probably not the most successful. The person that speaks the less probably is the most successful. And even if they aren't, they're just taking in all the information and gathering that shit to like use it for their own future successes and fortunes. And so long story short, I just listened. And then afterwards, I got a huge earful from my wife, because she's like, I can't believe they held us hostage. It was 5 hours later. It's a week late. I'm like, sorry. I'm sorry. And so that's where I can only imagine when you get to the level of a Gary Vee or some of these people that are very well known, like, I don't know, how do you even have the contrast to get in rooms and people don't know you,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and just they're on all the time too, right?
All the time.
You see, Gary's always got content following him, or his camera guys following him, and then like people on the street just coming up and like grilling him on questions and stuff. And it's just like, but then all his answers it's not scripted, it's just intuition. It's him answering as a human. And he's like, have you tried that? Like, he's all speaking from experience, and it's just like when you do that, I think too. And sometimes I'm talking to clients, and it's like, you have to say, I don't actually know the answer to that one, but I'm going to find out for you, because it's like, I don't want to sit here and pretend I know it all. Yeah. Like as soon as you ask me a question that's outside of my wheelhouse, or if I don't actually have the answer for it, it's like, all I say is I'm not going to bullshit you. I actually don't know that one right now, but I'm going to go find out, and I'll let you know once I do. And it's like, I think people like that, right? I think people need to just like it's like more humanity, right? More human. A lot of us are trying to be like robots, and it's like, no, don't worry. There's gonna be enough robots around.
They're coming.
We need more friggin' humans. We need more humanity. We need more empathy. So I like what you're saying about like the feminine energy, right? It's like, you just need more empathy, more kind of like cool heads. Like, hey man, what's going on? Let's talk about this. Like, I have emotions too. I have a lot of emotions. I feel them all. Even so, like some people think once you reach that kind of neutrality, they go, oh, like he doesn't feel anything. It's like, no. I feel it all. You just don't see it. It's just kind of, and it's like, I don't know how healthy that is, but like you just process it and you go, okay, just don't. And there's a lot of times where there's like a reaction that would have came out 5-10 years ago. I would have had a snap reaction, but
my God.
And then you go, that's not right for me to do that. It's not fair to that person. This anger that I feel is something that I'm feeling, but they might not even know they're making me feel that. And that's inside me. Like, I need to process this, not them. I don't need to shoot this back. It's not this. So then it's like, just, and then sometimes it's like, maybe now's the time to get upset, but it's very rare that that's actually the case. Right.
Oh my God.
So then processing things internally, and then like a lot of times not reacting right away. Actually, who was it? Chris Voss just shared this. Okay. And he shared, I love Chris Voss, the FBI negotiator. His book is Never Split the Difference. Great book for anybody in sales, anybody actually in life, because everything is negotiation. Every time people don't even realize they're in negotiations, right? At work, with the wife. A lot of times we're negotiating. What's for supper? That's a negotiation, whether you realize it or not. But like, it's the type, right? And then your kids start doing it. I know kids negotiate nonstop, right? And it's like, what's going on, right?
Yes, and we deal with that with the daughter, dude.
They learn to do that at a very young age. So anyway, Chris Voss just had a tweet. I think it was on Twitter or something. X, and he said something along the lines of, You don't always need to react, and most times it's better just to process and then figure out how to react. Don't react immediately. Let it soak in, and then like just process that feeling and then figure out, and like, because it's like, how many times have you reacted when you're upset and then regret it, and then you're going around saying sorry all the time? I'm sorry I reacted like that. I'm sorry I blew up. I'm sorry, and it's just like, it starts to mean nothing when it's a pattern. Somebody that just keeps it's like, well, then fix it. Fix it. Just try to have some self-control. Like, it's not easy. I know. I get it. I get it. Yeah.
What I've learned from what you're saying is that if you come from like you take it, you learn, you just digest for a second, and then you come from love. And so whatever that looks like, so when someone makes you feel a certain way, which technically no one has the power to make you feel a certain way unless you decide on validating what they said. And like you said earlier, like, why aren't you giving me an emotion back? Because I hear you, but I'm not going to flip the switch for anger, right? What's that movie? Fucking Elemental. I'm not going to flip the anger switch, give that to you, right? And then you just switch it and then say, you just come from love. Like, oh, I hear what you're saying, and this is making me feel like you're saying this, and this. Is that correct? And then you give the other person opportunity to self-reflect, because anyone who's in real estate, you guys are glorified fucking therapists. I mean, let's be real. You're dealing with emotions on the highest level with a huge purchase. And this isn't commercial. This isn't like, what's the fucking ROI? It's like, oh, I hate the paint, the front door color. Oh, is it east or west or south? Oh, I can't have this side face this because my religion, whatever. And that's why I feel like when I was first in the business, I would get so passionate where I would tell people off because I was so passionate, and like I felt like they're just fucking idiots. And then I had to slow down and be like, no, they're not idiots. They just don't know what they don't know. I need to get my ego out of the way. Don't let them trigger me. And they might even subconsciously be doing it, not even consciously doing it. Right. Slow down, breathe, come from love, and then give them a different perspective. I tell you what, every single time you come from love, people will literally self-reflect in an instant and automatically be like, whoa, okay, hold on. You know what? I'm the fucking asshole.
Yeah, man. And I mean, and it happens a lot in real estate because we're dealing with large transactions. It's the most, I've always said this, it's coming from a background in the military. I was a commercial diver. I did a bit of welding. I was always trades growing up. I thought I had to make money with my hands. That's all I knew in my family, kind of like, but then my grandfather, he was a real estate agent. And eventually he came up to me and he was like, dude, you should really try this. And I was like, I don't see myself as being a real estate agent. And anyway, so what I've realized about real estate is it's the physically easiest thing I've ever done, but I'd say mentally and emotionally probably some of the hardest because because you're carrying a lot of people's responsibilities. When you're sitting across somebody when you sit across from a client and a seller and saying, yeah, I'm going to be able to get this job done. And then now that responsibility of their largest investment is now on you. And it's like, now I need to take this with as much emotion as they have, but then I need to make sure that I'm not carrying their emotion into this, and I need to help them get their job done. But now I'm as seriously invested into this as they are without snapping at the wrong times. And I'll admit, there's a few times where I've probably got a little bit snappy when negotiations are getting down to just ridiculous things.
Yes.
It's like, and you just want to, but then you have to scale back, and then you go, okay, I just overreacted there. And it's like, so in saying everything I've said, I'm not perfect, but I need it. Of course, like there's a lot of times where I go, damn, that was an overreaction, and I need to correct that. I need to correct that moving forward. And it's just like taking note of it and at least going, I know I was in the wrong there. And then even, you can even apologize for it and just say, hey, look, I know the last time we talked, I was a little bit kind of like frustrated, and I apologize about that. And, just because it's like, I need to keep working with all these other real estate agents too, right? So you don't want to burn those bridges. You need to learn to work with people. You need to learn to work with your clients. And when you're working with in the public like this with, sometimes people that may or may not know you, you're dealing with a lot of different emotions, and they might come in heavily stressed. And then you need to be able to have like a shield on you so that you don't carry that into the next appointment, which maybe you have 2-3 listing appointments back to back to back, but then the first one was horrible and maybe it didn't work out, but you don't want to wreck those other opportunities that you have now too. So you need to restart that and just go, okay, back to, just back to opportunity mode, back to gratitude, back to being thankful that I have opportunities and thankful that people are calling me and thankful that I even get the opportunity to sit down and have the conversation with them about selling their house. And like, that's what I really got to. And like, even when it comes to clients, let's say, for example, I've been doing this, it's going 6.5 years or something now, over 120 deals. And it's like, sometimes you have clients that try other agents just because, like, I had one guy that I sold his house, and then I get a phone call from him a year later, and he goes, dude, like, I'm super happy. I just bought 2 properties. I want you to come check this one out. It was like a $900,000 property. And then I'm just like, oh, damn, but I didn't get that business. But I'm going, he's calling me because he's so excited and he wants me to see it. I need to go show up and be excited too. Even though like you might initially be, why didn't you call me? I want to make money off that. It's like, no, I just went and I talked to him. And then it's funny because that was like a few years ago. He's calling me now saying, man, I've gone through a couple other agents and my experience was best with you. And I've always kept in touch with him. I've always answered his phone calls. I'm always bringing him out to coffee. I've kept the relationship. I've never once been, why'd you do that? Why'd you do this? Right? I've never flown off the handle and said, you know, you and I had a good thing. I did this for you. And you, so, and then you find out. That. And then you find out, you know, and like he opened up to me and he just goes, you know, the reason I used that other agent is he was actually storing my bike in his garage and I felt obligated to use him because he was doing that for me. And then, you know, I felt obligated. He goes, but at the end of the day, I like your service better. And I'm going to go back to you. And I'm just like, wow, that's the long game right there. That's the long game paying off. And it's like, so being like taking the high ground, right? And taking the high ground might not be great for short-term business. If that's what you're after, you can call everybody and why didn't you do this? Or why didn't you call me? Or but it's just like call and just congratulate them. Be there for them. And if you can consistently kind of keep doing that, then it's like eventually, I believe the long-term will work out. Play the long game.
I love that. There's two points I want to add to what you just said. One, a book, The 7 Triggers to Yes, which states if you do something for someone else, they'll feel more obligated to do something back for you. Yeah. And the second thing is once you you want to attract something, but you're chasing it, it's running away from you. So the more that you're like, what the fuck? Why this? Why not? You know, you're giving this anger vibe in this range, which is putting you into that chart we talked about earlier, which is like just getting by. And so from like commission breath to why didn't you use me or whatever, you're going to repel them. And the fact that you were someone that said, dude, congratulations, this is awesome. And I think that also too, like you can always like congratulate them, come from love and just say, hey, you know, I'm just curious, Mr. Customer, Mrs. Customer, like, you know, what can I, because I think this is what people forget about in the real estate space or just business owners in general. People love to help other people win and have success. And I just met an agent and he's in Central Texas. And I said, dude, and he's on YouTube and he's crushing all the things. This is a Liftoff agent side that sponsors the show. And I said, dude, I said, if you just allow people to give feedback on how you can do a better job and they feel that they're a part of your success, you're going to have customers for life because they're going to be like, oh, I had a hand in his success. And you know what that ties into? That ties into legacy. Legacy is not money and the money you have. It's the way that you show up for others because people forget you said and did, but they won't forget the way you made them feel. So you make them feel something, you go deeper and you just show up for them because you are a fucking good, awesome, authentic, loving, kind person. And it's not about the fact that you are a real estate professional and they have a $2.5 million home. It's that like, hey, we're humans first. And then they're like, fuck, dude, like, thanks so much for showing up and you're amazing and this and that, and everything else. And then it turns into a total different conversation. And then you won the business, dude. Congrats.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's so not having the commission breath and just kind of being there, just having the human aspect to it. And a lot of people have like you said, it's the need, the want, like, oh, you know, I deserve that. I've heard that so much. I deserve that business. And it's like, well, if you deserved it, you would have got it. Yeah. And then, you know, so then sometimes, you know, and then I've had agents too, they go, Brandon, like, you know, I was working with this person and then they're working with someone else. And I said, just call them and ask what you could have done better. Just say, hey, you know, I know you and I had a good relationship and I know that we've done a deal in the past and I see that you listed a house and I want to say congratulations. In order to improve me as a real estate agent, do you mind if I ask you what I could have possibly have done better to earn your business? And then normally what you find out is they're like, oh, well, actually, I just started dating so-and-so, and this is their brother or their cousin. And it just like, sometimes it's like, oh, there was like almost a tighter tie with somebody else that they felt obligated to at that time. And maybe you weren't even like, it's like, that wasn't your business to begin with sometimes. Just, you know, be thankful for the times that you worked with them. Yes. And everybody's able to make their own opinion. Everybody's so like me. Like it's all, it's all revolving right around here. It's like, no, there's a lot going on that you don't even see. And there's probably a reason. It's not that you're a horrible real estate agent. It's not that the last transaction went bad. It's just that maybe like just this instant you just never know. Like, here's another really weird story, man. Was I went to an event that a client invited me to, and then when I showed up, I was thirsty. I was coming from a bunch of other appointments that I just didn't have water in the truck.
Yeah.
And there was this table of guys sitting there drinking some water. And there's a glass of water that was full, looked nice and clean, unattended to. And I was like, that's up for grabs. So I just walked over to this table and I said, is anybody here drinking this water? And the guy turns around and he looks at me. He goes, I know you. And I'm looking at him and I was like, I don't know you. And I'm trying to think about what it was. And then he goes, you're a YouTube agent or he goes, you're a real estate agent on YouTube. And I said, yeah. And he goes, you're the reason that we moved here to New Brunswick. And he said,
oh shit.
And I feel so bad that we didn't get to use you. He apologized. And I kept saying, I was like, wow, well, what is going on? He's like, let me tell you the story. So then he said, we've been watching your videos. You were a big reason that we end up picking St. John and Quispamsis as the reason or as a spot to move to New Brunswick. Like, you're the reason that we picked this down for watching your content. He said they're from Ontario somewhere. And anyway, his family needed to move. And the wife came here and started looking at properties. The wife had a friend. And then just when they were looking at properties, they found one. They called the listing agent and they ended up locking that in. But this guy seen me, and then he felt the need to explain this story, and he apologized probably 15 times to me.
Wow.
This grown man with a family, and I was just like, I said, man, listen, I am so happy that I was part of the reason that you moved here, and I'm so happy that you feel the need to apologize to me, but I want to say one thing. You don't owe me anything. You don't owe me anything. And I'm just very glad that this worked out for you. And life is life is long. And I said, let's go grab a coffee sometime. And, I said, there's lots of business. We can do business down the road. You can refer me some business or something. Like, there's a lot of opportunities here. That's not the only time. Let's go. And then anyway, like, he just loved that. But it was just so strange. Like, if I wouldn't have, like, never even met him, I wouldn't know that happened. He kept apologizing. He did something wrong to me. And it was just like, it's like, wow. So, like, just sometimes things happen, man. Like, and it's like, and then I self-reflect on, could my call to action maybe be stronger? Could there be something that possibly, maybe something I might have done better. Maybe not. Maybe it was just timing, place. Maybe it was just kind of like a serendipitous moment. And maybe if they would have called me because I wasn't the listing agent, maybe it wouldn't have worked out. They wouldn't have got that house. Maybe they wouldn't have been able to move here. You just never know. You just never know, right?
You never know.
So it's just I just said, thank you, man. I said, life is long though. Let's go grab a coffee sometime. There's lots of times for us to do business. Like, please stop. Like, it was just like, stop. That's being like, it's weirding me out. So, but it was so cool to see though. It was so cool. Kind of like, wow, is that ever? And then he just said, keep doing what you're doing because it's changing people's lives.
Wow.
It's like, I didn't ever think about that, but it's just like cool, man.
Dude.
Like here's some of these stories, like walking around and like some people are like, hey, like I recognize you. And I'm like, they're like, oh yeah, you're on YouTube. And it's just kind of funny, man. Like, and
Dude,
even some clients that have called me from seeing me on YouTube, the first thing they say, they go, oh, I feel like I'm meeting a celebrity. And I was like, I'm just a regular person, just a regular, just a regular person, man. But let's, just happy that you're excited. I'm excited to meet you too.
That's the psychology. I think that people forget that like there is this sense of it's called, I like, passive prospecting, use that term, where you could put yourself out there on YouTube and that ties into you and who you are as far as serving others. So like you put out the YouTube content, you're there to add value. You're talking about the market. You're talking about what's going on. Then I also seen your podcast and I seen how you're interviewing people of the community to add value, right? And then you cross pollinate and then it just starts to turn into so much more where like we started this podcast during COVID because we couldn't meet people anymore. And it's like, well, if I can't go to offices and meet or do broker presentations and we don't want to be salesy here. So how do I still be able to just have a meaningful conversation without any distractions to then add value to one another, but then add value to anyone who's watching. And so, that's how we got to 500 episodes and where we're at today. And it's amazing that, you could change people's lives by
That's incredible, by the way. Congratulations, man, on 500. That's a huge commitment. Congratulations on that.
Thank you, Matt. I really do appreciate that. And it's, it is, I'll be honest with you. I don't talk too much about this on the air, but I will say that, we expanded in the Philippines and in doing as such, there's been a lot of trials and tribulations and I'm not an analytical data guy when it comes to like, say a Mike Sherrard. So, our views and everything else they're starting to get better and we've dealt with some issues. And so I never, for anyone out there, use the matrix of views and ROI as the key performance indication of me continuing this. I just looked
Vanity
at it as
metrics,
there's
right? It's like those vanity metrics. Yeah.
I just looked at it as like, if I can just keep showing up and if I'm in the vibration of being in service and I'm just meeting and I'm just continuously just going to, and then you never know, we meet each other at an event. And because of the podcast, it's like now we know each other more intimately, or I could refer someone to watch our podcast because there's someone that I think that could benefit from this because they're going to do what you're going to do, or they want to get on YouTube or whatever. So there's been other ways where I feel like not everything needs to be an eye for an eye. Not everything needs to be $1 spent, $2 in return. And I think so many people put pressure on themselves that like, what is my return on investment? You know, what's going to happen here? And I think that it's just like, just keep showing up, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and that's just it. And the podcast is fun too, because you get to talk to people and they start telling you their stories, and they bring like the highest energy too. Because as soon as the cameras get rolling, they're excited to share stuff.
Yeah.
So then now you get to have these high level conversations with people, and they're opening up in a way that they normally wouldn't just over a coffee. A lot of times actually on my podcast, it's my first time meeting people. I'd normally sometimes go and have a coffee with them to make sure, but there's some people who are like, I want to bring them in regardless. I don't know. I don't know what they're like, but then, like for example, there's a local guy. He was at the what's it called, UFC Contender Challenge. He was on Dana White's Contender Series. So he's like 2 times fought on Dana White's Contender Series, and he's from here in St. John. He's like he's a professional fighter kind of deal. And I've always seen him, and I've always had so much respect for fighters because I just love the fact that they pour themselves, they put every ounce of energy on the line in there in a form of like violence where you can literally get knocked out in front of an audience. Like that is killed. Or killed. It's so admirable. It's so admirable to see somebody throwing everything, all the training, all their energy into this sport. Like it gives me chills when I'm watching it. It's so courageous. It's so honorable. And anyway, so he came in and I have coffee ready and everything. And the first thing he says, he goes, "I think this is my first time meeting you." And I said, "It is, but I feel like I know you. Come on in." And then we just sit down and have a coffee. And he was the nicest human being, so humble, so kind. We had such a good conversation. It's just like, that's so cool that we get to do that, right? And it's like, maybe if I didn't have the podcast and I just reached out and said, "Hey, let's go grab a coffee," he'd look at me and go, "Oh, he's a real estate agent. He's trying to sell me something."
Yeah.
I actually don't want to do that. But now I'm coming from a place of value saying, "Hey, I got this podcast and I'd love to bring you on because I love what you're doing." And most people haven't been asked to be on a podcast before. So they get super excited about that, right? Like even a local business owner, you ask a dentist, a doctor, a lawyer, most of them have never been asked to be on a podcast before. There's not a lot of podcasts going on in St. John. Like, so it's like when you bring these people in, and then, like I've had guys that are like, so coming from the military, I've had guys that have something called Operation Feed, where it's like they have this non-for-profit organization here where they help retired veterans to continue to serve their community by helping the most vulnerable in the community. So they pack food and give it to people that can't really afford food. They drop it off at schools, and it's like this amazing organization. And then I talked to the owner. His name's Patrick Gordon, and he's telling me stories about of the 3 tours he did in Afghanistan and how he got blown up overseas and why he's got such bad PTSD. And he's going in depth on detail about like the feeling of driving over a mine in the tank and how he became unconscious for a second. And then when he came conscious, they were under fire. And it's just like, I'm sitting there listening to this, just going like, I can't believe that I even get the opportunity to hear this. This is just so incredible, and I'm so thankful. And it's something that that I'm very glad I started, because a lot of people around town seem to. It's just like it cross pollinates. So then you get to tap into their audience a little bit too, and then it's like giving them value. So it's like this non-selfish, awesome arrangement. I think the podcasting is so cool.
Oh, it's so cool. And I can imagine, because when you first got on air, we were talking about the fact that it's just like, I haven't seen your front lawn for 4 or 5 months. And it's just like, what do you do? It's a perfect opportunity to have a podcast and vibe out and talk for a few hours and just like transfer energy and have a good chat and coffee and add value. And then you're like, all right, cool. Like, that's awesome. It just made my day that much brighter, even though it's not that bright outside, you know, it was just freaking badass, dude. And that's why I think that, we talk about that. And I tell agents all the time, like, hey, like, get a podcast started. You don't need to be in person. You don't need to have all the tech. Just get on StreamYard. I'm like, you could use this platform. It costs you next to nothing. You don't need a mic and all this shit. You could just literally use your MacBook Pro and just what's already on there for the mic and the camera. Yep. And then just start recording and ask people questions and add additional value. Cause like, I mean, I would have loved that moving to Arizona. I mean, I moved here because of YouTube, and I watched some guy who was like showing me areas of the area, and then he wasn't even an agent. And then I chose this location because of it. Gilbert, Arizona was like one of the fastest growing, 7.2%, made $100,000 each year for the past 4 years now being here, and it's been a huge blessing. But my agent didn't give me any value like that. I didn't get to watch any podcasts or understand like what's the best restaurant or where should I eat, and I didn't really get that like. And I think people want more of this, especially after COVID. It's like they want human interaction. They want personal touch. They want to feel like a VIP. They don't want the corporate, stuffy bullshit. Like, just take a number. Like, I don't want your fucking number and sit here and just be in and out real quick. Like, just get your food. Are you done eating? Like, no, like, let's chat for a second. I know you're busy serving, but hey, how are you doing today? And even when you call people on Chase or your bank or whatever else, and it's someone in the Philippines, it's like, how often do people out there actually ask the question, hey, how are you doing today?
Right. And actually mean it. And actually mean it.
Yes.
Actually, not just saying, hey, how you doing? And then just start talking about what you want. And you never actually even gave them a chance to answer. Yep. It's like, actually, you're right. How are you doing? Oh, good. Yeah, everything's going good. Yeah. Like, it's like actually trying to figure so what's going good. And then they're kind of like stop and think about it. Like, what? And then it's almost like people aren't used to that, man. They're not even used to it because we become so conditioned to just kind of like walk past each other in this like transactional, like swipe, next. Right.
Fucking Matrix, dude.
Like I just had a buddy get back from Thailand, and like he was telling me, he's just like, man, like it's so different over there. Like people are bowing to each other, like they'll set their groceries down, like they're very thankful. Everybody's like very like courteous in the streets. Like, so my buddy watered a plant. He had a bottle of water, and there's this like plant hanging from a basket, and he put some water in, and like these three, what looked like, he said, gang members across the street all like started bowing and thanking him, like, thank you for doing that, thank you. He's like, what looked like a kind of violent group was just really nice people. Like it was kind of and it's just like, he's like talking about these temples and talking about all this stuff. He had me on FaceTime. He's actually one of the guys that was working with another agent, and then now is wants to work with me, so it's just kind of cool. I've just been talking to him, like staying in touch and stuff, and it's just like being a human for people. And then I'm hearing him talk about these human experiences he's having, and I'm like, it sounds like there's a lot more humanity there. I think we're missing humanity. We're all humans, but we're acting like we're robots, like transactional, like everybody's got feelings, everybody's got hardships and something going on, and they don't all have to talk about it. You have to dive into people's businesses if they don't want to, but it's just nice to be somebody that at least has like some empathy and just say like, how are you doing? What's going on? Like, and I actually care. Like, let me know. Like, give me a call if you need anything. And I mean that. I'm not just saying that because it's a nice thing to say and it sounds good for business. Give me a call. Like, I want to know what's going on. That's the only way I can provide value. I can't read your mind.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, man. And it's, speaking in context of like today's show, this is super refreshing because after launching the Liftoff Experience and then now having this show, and like normally I would do an intro and change things up differently for this specific show, but we just started vibing out, and like everyone out there viewing and listening, like we just met. So I was like, since this is so vibey and we're just chatting and this is organic, I just fucking started recording. I just let it go. And I was like, I'm just going to let this go the way it needs to go. Because one thing that I identified is sometimes when things are very transactional and you're like, oh, wait, stop. Let me do the intro really quick and fucking stroke this guy's ego. And then, okay, now he's here, congratulations. Like I like the energy it's clunky. I was watching your podcast. I like your vibe with what you're doing. That's already what I'm starting to do with the new podcast. And I think that I'm going to take that DNA into this moving forward. And on Kimberly's podcast 2 weeks ago, I said, like we might actually dissolve Real Estate First Technology, just focus on the other show, which we might actually have a new host for this show. We'll see what happens. More to come. And so I'm like, if I'm going to be fucking hosting, this is how I'm vibing.
One thing I realized, like, and I know some other agents around here locally have tried or have done podcasts, and a lot of them stay right on the topic of real estate, and they're just right in here's what the market is doing, and here's what's going on. I'm like, that to me is like I can do that on a market update. It's like let's talk just humans. Who am I? I find like for me, I'm like the value of the podcast is people get to see who I am as a person. Because a lot of times as real estate agents, there's a sign, but you have no idea what that person's like until you call them. And then maybe you're working with them and then you realize, oh, I don't actually really vibe with this person. So it's almost like it's like my way to filter out anybody that may not want to work with me and then filter in those who do. Right. And then I find too, it's just like, instead of me sitting here and trying, there was maybe like 1 or 2 podcasts where I had like some questions lined up, but most times I'm just like, I just want to go into this organically and have a conversation with this individual because I'm genuinely curious about a lot of things. And it's me kind of like learning live time sometimes. I'm like, you know, some people are scared to do that because they're like, oh, it makes me like, instead of just sitting here going, I know. Like, it's like, no, just learn. We're all human, man. Like,
I love that.
It's like, take that kind of the mask off. A lot of people get that mask of like, I know everything. I can solve every problem. Like, listen, I'm very good at solving problems and I love solving problems, but it's like, let's actually be real here and just like talk to each other.
Yeah. I love that. So speaking of real estate, here's a tip for everyone out there who's viewing and listening as we're now coming to the end. And this is going to be just a random thought. And I'm an idea hamster. I love just ideas and suggestions, and I love tech. Ties into the lift off side. And so you said you have open house sign, or you have the sign in the front of the house and there's the agent, and people are like, who the fuck's the agent? Well, why not? Like, this is great for you too, because you already have YouTube. Why not put a QR code and then put a little thing that says, who's this guy? And they scan the QR code, and then you can have a video saying like, hey, you probably saw who's this guy on your open house sign. Well, or open house sign down the street, or, you know, you drove by it or it's in your block. Just want to go ahead and introduce myself really quick. And then, you know, just tell people who you are. That could be a freaking cool idea for someone out there that wants to just leverage a QR code and technology, and a YouTube channel might get a new subscriber outside of just maybe, you know, the person buying the house.
Right, man. It's just having fun with it, right? I had billboards around. I had billboards around St. John that didn't have my face on it, and it just said Brandon Vincent. It was a big orange billboard, very visible, blue letters, blue print, Brandon Vincent, and then underneath it said, "Don't search doingitdifferent.ca," which was my website that I made at the time. And I was just playing games with people. And then like people are like, what is that? So then they'd search it, like, oh, this is Brandon Vincent. And it's kind of like, it was just fun. I'm like, you know what? I'm just having fun with this, man. It's like, I want to take the stuffiness away from the real estate. Cause it's like a lot of it when I came in, you know, like I was wearing work boots when I first started selling real estate because I came from the trades. And everybody's like, why you dress like that? Why don't you have dress shoes? Why don't you, where's your shirt and tie? Where's your like kind of get, you know, like follow along kind of like, and it's just like, I don't want to do that. I want to just kind of add some humanity into it. And it's like, I have a military background, man, and I'm a workhorse, and I will take it as seriously. Like I adopt people's problems. It's like, I want to help solve that. And it's like, and then, but at the same time, it's like, but I also want to be real and just kind of like connect and like, just be human, man. Just kind of like really find that way to connect. And sometimes it's, you know, sometimes you're exhausted and it's hard, but just trying, like I said at the start, just showing up. And even like, if you're not 100%, still just being there, right? I think that's a big, huge thing for people, is just showing up, right?
I love that. You don't know what you don't know until you know, man. And I had no idea what to be expected. I will be honest, like, you know, the team does a lot of scouting for us and finds different guests. And this is shout out big time Vits, my work wife. She's in the Philippines. She watched your content. She saw that we could vibe out. And then after she said, this is someone, then I did some research myself. And then here we are now. Yeah. And I'm glad that it all came together the way it did, bro.
My girlfriend was asking, she goes, what podcast are you doing today? And I was like, his name's Norman. And I said, I'm honestly not going to look too much into it. I just want to kind of show up and just, I'm just going to show up and we'll see where it goes. And this was amazing, man. And I also didn't know what to expect either. You know, I was like, I could do some homework. I don't even want to stress myself out. Let's just show up and be authentic. Cause I mean, sometimes that's just that flow state. And that's where I've been this week. And that's where I'm rolling with. It's been working. So Norman, thank you so much, dude.
Of course.
And thank you to your audience. And I just, man, hope you have a great day, dude. This was good.
Likewise, man, and a pleasure to everyone that watched, man. So thanks so much for your time too. And want to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. That'd be great. And it is our intention for you to take things from our show to apply to your business, have more massive success. So hopefully you can take more of a loving approach with your next customer.